just watching her sing about that man named
Yes.
Jesus. Awesome, 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 awesome. Well, we are excited to have our next guest
Yes.
on with us. You're an author as well as many, many other things. God has gifted you in many areas. But we're happy to have Vanessa on the set with us. Vanessa Nardi?
Yes. Welcome to Atlanta Live.
Thank you, thank you.
Another
so excited
lady
and glad to be
of
here.
many talents.
Yes, thanks to God. All glory and honor to Him. Anything that I can do, anything that I am, even the voice with which I speak is due to Him, and I am beyond grateful for everything that He's done in my life. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. And we definitely want to share with our listeners your story. Tell us a little bit more about your background.
My background. Well, I too am over 40. So my background can be kind of long, but we won't take 40 years, 40 plus years to do that.
There's nothing wrong with being, you know.
Well, my story is that for many years, many years, I struggled with this issue of shame. And so although I was a married woman with children, and even what some would probably consider successful, I've had a nice career, I struggled for a really long time with low self-value. I didn't feel very worthy of good things in life. It was very difficult for me to form relationships, to have friends, and even to actually say the word love, let alone to feel it, to give it, even though I was married and with children. And so most of my life, I was unsaved. I was brought up in a non-Christian home. We didn't have a Bible. I didn't know any of the Bible stories that most young children know. And so, you know, I knew something was not quite right, but I did not know what, and I didn't know what the answer was. And so I was just really walking around through life, somewhat what I would call hiding, not really fully living the way God intended for me to live. So one day I was talking to my husband, and I told him I actually lost my mother when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
I was 5. She was 23. She had 4 children. I was the oldest.
Wow.
Yes, and so I always thought that the source of my issues was the death of my mother. And when I had my daughters, my little girls, I would go home and I would tell my husband, just because something wasn't quite right, I thought that one day I was going to die too. I said, I just know that one day I'm going to drive home and that's going to be it, and I'm going to leave my little girls. And so it got to the point where I told him, I'm tired. I've worked since I was 14 years old. Even after having my children, I continued to work. I'm tired. Something's not quite right with me. I don't know what it is. I can't relate to my children. I need to stop working. I also was the breadwinner at that time. My husband had a new business that he started. We started together. So all of the insurance, that secure weekly paycheck, all of that coming in, I was actually willing to give that up, even though at that time I was still unsaved. I didn't have a relationship with God, but I was willing to give that up because I just felt like if I didn't, something was going to happen. So I went home one day and I said, I think I'm going to quit my job. And I did.
Wow.
Not knowing God. So most people would say, well, I know God's got this. He's going to keep us through. If He's leading me. Well, I didn't say that because I didn't know to say that. I just said, I need to stop working. And I went into work and quit my job with 2 little girls at home. And a hubby. So what I did is I went and I started working with him. I started doing more volunteer work in school. And as part of the joining with my husband, I started a computer training part of the business that he had. For about 3 months, I had 1 paying student. just one.
Oh.
She came in every day, faithfully, didn't fail. She paid me, which I was happy for.
Wow.
And she started inviting me to church. And she knew that I was seeking something because I was reading all kinds of spiritual
Self-help
books, and I was
yeah.
reading all of that, those self-help type books. She'd see them, you know, laying around the office that we were in, and so she decided to invite me to church.
Wow.
I declined her offer for 2 or 3 times, and then I said, well, you know, she's my only paying student, she's loyal, the least I could do is take her up on her offer. I know, I had to just go to church with her.
Sure.
And I went to church with her. And not that I had not visited churches before, because I had, but I never felt anything when I went in, or I heard something that to me sounded like it wasn't quite right. So
Sure.
I don't know about this God thing, I don't know about this Jesus thing, but what I just heard is, so, you know, I kind of didn't go back. But on this day, when I went in and I walked in, from the moment that I walked in, the way I was hugged, the way I was greeted, it was just different. It was just different. And once I walked into the sanctuary and the praise that was going on, truly, God had inhabited the praises of those people,
Wow.
and I felt it when I walked in.
Wow.
And so as we were escorted to our seats, and my husband's with me and my 2 daughters are with me, I distinctly remember, I'll never forget the day, I looked at him and I looked at my children, and I knew that this was going to be a change in my life. I knew that it was the first day of the rest of my new life. I just knew it. I just knew it.
That's amazing.
Man, I can feel the goosebumps just listening, listening. I mean, I can imagine it was very scary for you.
It was, because it was different. I wasn't a churchgoer. I wasn't, I didn't know the language. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything, but I met God there, and God had me there on purpose. He had that one student and that one student there so that nobody else could distract me and to give me a reason to say no and not take her up on her offer. So I know now that all of that was purposeful, but it was scary for sure, because I was in unfamiliar territory.
Now, was your husband supportive of this new path? I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely. My husband is the most supportive man. He has always been tremendously supportive of everything that I do. Anything and everything. So, absolutely.
That's good. And so now, are you still involved in a certain church, or do you minister in various other churches? How has that blossomed, I guess, into where you are now?
So I do attend. I attend a different church. That was the first church. I got saved there, stayed there for a while. I wasn't working. I wound up going back to work. When I went back to work, the church was a little distance from my home, and I wanted to be sure, because I did not have a natural family of believers to be my support, that I needed to be close to my local church. So I changed churches, and now I go to Mount Moriah Baptist Church in Tucker, Georgia. One of the things that God began to do for me once I got saved, I still, even after my salvation, a couple of years into my salvation, I had these wonderful Christian sisters who want to make friends, and they want to exchange phone numbers, and I could not bring myself to do that. I still had this issue with making friends and developing relationships, and I wanted it so badly. And I just would ask, why can't I do this? Why can I not make a friend? Why can't I? Why is this okay? I'd see everybody else. They, have, best friends, and they go to the movies, and I'm seeing everybody enjoy life. But I couldn't seem to do it. And so I remember there was one weekend where I was invited to the movies with 2 sisters from church, and I initially accepted, and then this fear thing just came over me, and I said, I can't do it. I can't even go to and so I declined going to the movies. And I was home by myself, and I just literally started crying out to God, asking him what is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? I'm yours. I belong to you. I thought once I got saved, my life would be like this new thing, and it's not happened for me, God, and why?
Yeah.
And I cried out to him, and I was yelling, and I said, the one thing that I've learned since being a believer, the one thing I had come to grips with is that life is about relationships. First and foremost with God, and then with others. And I remember saying to God, if I can't do that, if I can't have relationships, there's no point, because I know that's what life is about.
Right.
So on that very day that I'm having this conversation with God, he brings up out of me the real source of my shame, which is the reason why I can't have relationships, which I didn't realize. I always thought it was the death of my mom. But he brings up what the real, true source of my shame was, which began the healing for me, which
awesome.
led me to now be able to have the joy and the abundant life that Christ that he offers. And so it was years of healing, but I literally would not be able to be here looking you in the eye, having this conversation with you, if God had not done what he did for me.
So hence, as a result of that, you wrote this book, On Shame on You.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Tell us a little bit about this.
Unshame on You. So when God began speaking to me about telling my story, my testimony, I ran from it. I said no, because the source of my shame is sexual abuse as a young girl, okay? And it's hard to come to. There are women that walk around with that, and because you don't want to speak it, you don't want to say it, you don't. It's and you walk around shamed, living a life of shame. And so once I knew I was healed, and now I can say I love you to my daughters, and I can talk to them, and I can, have this wonderful relationship with my husband. God made it clear to me that yes, he healed me and he freed me, but it wasn't just for me. He did it so that I could glorify him